Good morning. It's Monday, June 1st, and this is something new for me, so please bear with me. But as I was sitting down this morning to try and do an email update to everyone on what's going on, I just decided that, you know what, it'll be easier to just tell you instead of trying to type it all out and have another boring email. So as you may hear, I have dogs barking and kids running around and working from home, so please bear with me. But wanted to give you some information on really four different things. One is where we are in the current governor's mandate on what's going on with rental properties and evictions. Give you a quick legislative update and an update on where we are as an office. It details property management, and then let you know how you can help out. So the first is the governor's mandate on evictions. It went into effect March 1st. And the Cliff Notes version of it is basically we can't do anything to enforce a lease or give any sort of notice for a tenant to move out right now. The current mandate goes through June 4th. We're expecting that to be extended probably sometime this week, since it expires at the end of this week. So we'll keep you updated as those change, but just be aware that if you have a lease ending, I know some of you are planning on moving back this summer and we have leases set to end. Accordingly, we cannot currently give those tenants notice to move out. We are having conversations with them about their plans and doing what we can to help that situation, but just realize that any sort of fines, fees, late fees, NSF fees, notices for compliance, any of that sort of stuff we can't do right now. So we'll continue to do what we can, which is very little, but hope it ends soon on that. I know there's some lawsuits and stuff trying to stop the governor from imposing these restrictions on landlords further, but we'll see what happens. The second one really is details office. We are currently all working from home, even though Kitsap County just moved into phase 2 of the governor's plan to reopen. Due to health concerns and safety concerns for our staff and our vendors, we're going to continue to operate as we currently are, which is remotely. We have all sorts of systems in place to allow us to continue to serve our owners and tenants' needs and vendors and accommodate where we can on that. So we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week leasing line to answer incoming calls. We have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week maintenance emergency line. We have communication tools online. We have online payment plans for owners and tenants. And our phones are being able to be answered and emails answered by our staff from their remote locations. So it seems to be working okay right now, so we're going to continue that and try and keep everyone as safe as we can. The good news for us as an office is that our tenants, for the most part, are paying their rent. So part of the government's mandate, sorry, my paper's no, sorry. Part of the governor's mandate requires a payment plan. And so we are offering those when tenants are asking for it. But the good news is most of our tenants pay rent and pay on time. So we're going to continue with our policy right now. If you don't hear from us, then there's not an issue with your tenant. It's easier to just reach out on an individual basis when we hear from specific tenants to let you know what's going on, what sort of plan that we have offered. The governor's mandated that it's a reasonable plan. If tenants need to move or break a lease for any reason, they can right now with no penalties or fees. So we're just going to continue to walk through that on a case-by-case basis with all of our tenants and contact you as needed. And to be honest, hopefully we don't have to be in touch with you. But if there is a concern, we will definitely contact you and let you know what's going on. The last thing I really wanted to go into was before all this virus stuff hit, our legislature in Olympia passed 4 new laws that directly impact landlords. So if you don't know, the last couple of years it's been a major battle down in Olympia about landlord and property rights, and we've been doing what we can to fight those and have a lobbyist involved and making trips down and visiting the Hill. But it's difficult because they bring a lot of people, the tenants do, and then share their stories. And some of them are horrific stories, and they're not all great landlords out there. And unfortunately, those make great stories to share with legislators that pull on the sympathy. However, what they don't realize is the impact that all of these new laws are having on housing providers, like all of you are, is that it's making it harder and harder and to provide housing and be able to afford to provide housing and jump through all of their hoops. So at the end of this, really, I want to ask you for your help. But anyway, here's the four new laws, and the short Cliff Notes version again of this is, number one, on screening, we can no longer require a social security number. As you know, we pull a credit and do a background check. We can't require that. We can ask for it, make it optional. You cannot have any sort of different results or increased fees or deposits if it's not a citizen and they don't have a social security number. So we're going to take a look at our screening criteria and adjust it in our scoring models that we have and see what, if any, changes need to be made on that. The big one right now is that there's now a required grace period on rent of 5 days. So the way the state has mandated it is rent's due on the 1st. The grace period is the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So we can charge late fees on the 7th. So that is a little bit of a change for us. So we'll be adjusting that appropriately. The other thing is, if the tenants have any sort of government funds for their rent, any sort of assistance, VA benefits, Section 8, that sort of stuff, they can request an accommodation of up to a 5-day change in their rent due date, and then the grace period would go on after that. So in theory, if someone requested a rent due date change, it would go to the 5th of the month is now their rent's due, and then the grace period would go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then late fees on the 11th. So hopefully that doesn't really impact any of our tenants, but if so, we'll definitely be in contact with you. The third bill that came into effect is really, it caps holding fees, which we right now, after a tenant is approved on their application, we require a holding fee of 1 month's rent to take the property off the market and then start the move-in process with them. And it's non-refundable if they don't move in. Right now, the new law caps that at 25% of the monthly rent. So we will adjust and see if that really has any impact on our applicants and new tenants. The other one, that part of that bill that also comes into play is, if requested, the tenant for move-in can request a payment plan, and we would be required to give it to them. Depending on the lease term, which all of ours are typically 12 months, we would have to be willing to divide any move-in funds, which include security deposits, any move-in fees, prorated rent. If we did last month's rent, all of that would be divided into up to 3 payments, and we would be required to accept those. So it may impact us as we move forward. It may not. We'll again be in touch if it impacts you on any tenants moving into your properties, and if a payment plan has been requested, what it would be and what sort of timelines we could expect. So the last bill that was passed involved the pay or vacate. It's basically now a state mandated form with language that gives all sorts of information to tenants advocacy groups to on the notice so that they can contact them. It's really pretty frustrating, but we'll make the adjustments. As you can see, really the last item on my list is really, we need your help. Contact your state legislatures if you need help finding who your representative is for where your property is located. Please let me know. I'm happy to get that to you. But the tenants are a loud voice in Olympia, and it's easy for our legislators to listen to them and take action without realizing all the unintended consequences it's having on our landlords, and really emphasize we're the housing providers. You know, there's a housing shortage out there. We're the ones providing housing, and all of these new rules and laws are making it less and less cost effective and harder to provide this housing and have it make sense. And so actually, as an industry, we're seeing people sell their properties, the small mom and pop landlords, which is who we all are right now, are selling their properties, and they're not typically staying in the rental pool. They're going owner occupied, and they're no longer available housing for tenants. So I just urge you to please contact your representative, let them know your concerns of as a housing provider with all these new restrictions on your rights as a property owner and the onus requirements on landlords. It's just making it harder and harder to continue to provide housing. So I feel like I'm rambling. I'm done. There's more details on all of this. I realize not all of you are into the whole legislative thing like I tend to be. So if you want more information, please let me know. I'm happy to forward that on and answer any questions that you may have. And I hope you and your family are well. And we'll see if I can continue to be outside my comfort zone and do these sort of conversation updates with you, because I do think it's easier than trying to read through an email. So stay well. And I hope you have some enjoyable weather like we actually are having here in Western Washington. So have a great day, and we will be in touch. Thanks so much.